Journeys is recorded at Doghouse Studios. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment on YouTube to keep the conversation going. Remember, if you like the content, like the content. Hello, today is Thursday, April 7th. I'm Chad Jones, and welcome to Journeys. How are you doing today? So, continuing off the week's conversation, I hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with Amy yesterday. It was really fun to have her on, really fun to kind of talk about some things, and I hope it was enjoyable. I hope you guys could follow the conversation well enough and you guys got something out of it, because I definitely did. I love talking to my sister. I think she's such a smart person. I think she's so insightful, and with a lot of this stuff, she's very attuned with her own self, and I think she's only getting stronger. She's actually one of the most self-aware people I know, in a way, but that's for another time. I'm so glad I had her on. I'm so glad we got to talk. I'm so happy our conversation went the way it did, and if there's anything more I kind of really wanted to expand on, because I know she asked me some of these questions, so these are like questions by her, but she wanted to know about me being a dad, and what was my favorite part about being a dad, and advice I would give to other dads. So this was like a question she kind of asked me on the way home. She wanted to ask me in the session, but I guess that's me not extending the sessions. I think I'm going to double the length of the guest sessions and then actually edit it down, so you get really the hearty meat and potatoes part of the conversation. But continuing on for me, I just wanted to say, first of all, to answer the question, my favorite part about being a dad and my relationships with my kids, I mean, I've been a dad since I was like 23 with my cats. Like, they were my babies first. Like I said, you guys have heard the story, how I got them, how I have them, and now what my relationships with the cats have been over the last 7 years, and how that's kind of changed has been quite interesting, actually. Because like I said, they were my babies. When I had my concussion, I was bedridden for like 4 weeks. Lily was there the whole time, just being my bestest friend. And then when we got Callie, she used to do this thing where every like few nights she'd just curl up in my arm and I just have like a little teddy bear to cuddle. She doesn't do it as much now because she does that with like the other animals. She's like, okay, I'm gonna cuddle with Lily, I'm gonna cuddle with Samson, I'm gonna cuddle with this like inanimate stuffed object. And Lily is very much like, I'm surprised they're not here already, but I know Liam's awake, so he's upstairs. I told him I was working. Luckily he's respecting that to an extent. This is awkward. I did not set up my studio proper after last night. I didn't flip my mic correctly, but I'm kind of recording a little bit late because Liam's up, and I am recording a little bit late. There is like a little bit of a rush, so I might not take a long break today, but we'll see. So my favorite part about being a dad is that I have my family to come home to. That is just the biggest, best, greatest part of the day, is when I come in the door and I have Samson attacking me. Yes, it's stressful, but I just love that he comes right up to me and he's just like, Dad, you're home, you're my favorite, I love you. He'll knock Liam over when Liam comes to the door. Liam's getting a bit smarter about it, where he's like, I'll let Samson go and do his Samson thing, and then I'll go say hi when I'm not about to get assaulted by a tail or a butt. Well, sometimes his head is hard. It hurts. It's like one of those dinosaurs that you see that have the skull that's meant for bashing. I'm gonna just call it the skull bashing dinosaur. I can't remember its name. Oh, it's in Jurassic World. I should know roughly the name. Annette might know. She's played that game a lot. We both played that game a lot. I think we 100%ed it 3 out of 4 saves. So in order to beat the game, we gotta get all 400%. But I digress. So my relationship and so that is my favorite part, I think, is just knowing that I have my family to come home to, and I can just kind of like actively pick up one of my members and hold them and cuddle them and just say I love them is great. Two of the members are harder to pick up. That would be my full-grown adult wife. Just because, again, she's a full-grown adult wife. And Samson, because he's just awkward to lift. But Annette's brother is just very good at like, oh, hey, Samson, here we go. You're going to be a baby. And he picks him up and he's like, I'm a baby. He loves it. And then, yeah, the second part of the question I wanted to answer is advice I would give as a father. Golly, I mess up so much. I guess that's it. I think it's just not to be too afraid to mess up. Because you're not going to be perfect. You're going to yell. You're going to be upset. You got to be apologetic to yourself and to your partner and to your child, and just understand like they don't know any more than you do sometimes. And it's weird because I was in this we went to this little parenting group before COVID for Liam when Liam was little. And I don't know if you guys remember, he was actually born before COVID, which is weird because I just assumed COVID and him were connected, but they're not. He was born in 2019 in September, and COVID obviously started late November, early December. It really exploded right after Christmas in China. Anyways, yeah, that's the biggest part. Is the advice I would give is don't beat yourself up over everything, and try to be as patient as you can, because everybody's learning. This is not like it's like when you're trying to lose weight and everyone is a weight loss expert. You know, everyone at the gym's an expert. Everyone at the I'm gonna just call it the supplement store is an expert. Your GNCs, your other acronyms that you can buy supplements at, your Walmarts, whatever. Everyone's an expert. You get all this unsolicited advice. So here's my unsolicited advice, which is just try to be patient with everybody, including yourself. That relationship with beating yourself up where you're like, oh man, I said the fuck word again in front of the kid. And I know I shouldn't, but it's hard not to because you're a human being and that is such a tempting word to say. So, yeah. That's probably the biggest piece of advice, but I still have this episode I want to do. That's kind of the question from Amy. It's taken a lot of time. I hope you guys got a little bit of insight out of it. But my relationship, I'll continue my relationship, I guess, with my sister. So Amy and I were really close in high school. We're 4 years apart, and there was a month before I went to Metalworks where Amy and I were actually in high school together. I was kind of doing a victory lap. She was starting grade 9. So it was cool. She's like, oh, my older brother is in school with me. And I was like, oh, crap. She caught up. So there was that. But no, that was when I lost all my weight and she went to the gym. And we were just feeling good and feeling ourselves. It was great. Absolutely fantastic at the time. Getting real close. We did a 5K together. I remember I finished the 5K and I went back and I found her because she was a little bit behind, and her and I just went and we finished it together. It was awesome. We were very close for a while, and then life, she went up to Peterborough for schooling, and I kind of always had this mentality with Amy, which is she's got to do herself, and she's very independent. She is a middle child, so she's very independent. Well, shit, now I feel like I gotta talk about all my other side of my family. I mean, I guess this is I explain sometimes how I got these relationships, again, the past with the relationships. This is more or less my relationship with Amy currently is I don't know how much she's telling me about her life because her life is a little bit in turmoil. Nothing to the point of she's not gonna be here tomorrow turmoil or turbulence, but she's going through some turbulent periods, and I don't know how much she's I don't know how to express what I feel to Chad. I don't know how to express what I'm thinking to chat. I don't know how to express myself in the way I want to talk about it. But I do feel like there is a little bit of like she feels like I'm going to judge her. And obviously I do, because I'm a judgmental prick. In general, like, I constantly am judging people, but then, like, that's a stupid judgment. Throw that away. Don't accept a person as they are, not as what you want to perceive them to be. But I get it. Like, I'm like my dad, where sometimes there's just things that almost seem better left unsaid. But I'm trying to get better at saying those things and being more open and more understanding, and less objectively, here's unsolicited advice. Because that's what I feel like my biggest thing is like, Amy, here's all of my advice. And she's like, thanks. I didn't need or want it, but thanks. Anyway, moving on. We're gonna, because I think I'm gonna have Eric on in either next week or the week after. Depends on what we're talking about. But yeah, so back to relationships. I'm actually, today, my first thought of the day, halfway into the episode, was my relationship to inanimate objects, to things. What is my relationship to things? Because I don't know if people really think about it. What is your relationship to things? What do I mean by that? Are you a person who is a collector? Are you a person who likes clothes or shoes or anything that you particularly enjoy? Like, and that'll be the question of the day, which is like, what is your relationship to things, and what are your top five possessions, I guess, where you're like, this is my favorite thing, and this is my least, and this is like my 5, 4, 3, 2 top thing. And if your relationship is healthy to things, and you're like, I don't have a top 5, why don't you kind of explain, like, what is it that, like, how do you have that healthy relationship with things? So either, like, briefly kind of say, like, what your relationship is with things, and if you are very much a collector, very much like I have, like, this is my favorite possession, like, this one's second, but I know that I'm gonna get this next, and, like, this is gonna be my new favorite thing in this category. Do it. Like, I want to see your top 5. Or if you don't have a top 5, if you're like, things are just meaningless, they're just things, then I want to know, like, what is it about things that really don't derive a need for them or a want for them, I guess. Because I feel like people who have the top 5 lists need these things, and people who don't want the things. So I guess it's kind of a question of, if you are into those things, if you do have the things that you like, what is it that drives you to need them? And if you don't, what is it that drives you not to want them? It's a complicated question. I'll rephrase it. It'll be in the description below. Yeah, so moving to what my relationship is with things is, I can never really have enough things, but then when I have the thing, I'm like, wow, this is alright, what's the next thing? I can't even get through, like, the amazement of the thing. So, like, if I were to list, like, my top 5 things, just absolute things, because if I were to say, like, people, I wouldn't want to rank my how many are there? There's 7 of us, my 6 family members, because I couldn't just be like, here's my ranking system for, it's only 5, I think there's 6 of us. There's what, 2 cats, a dog, that's 3, and then 4 humans is 7. No, there's 7 of us. Jeez, there's a lot of family members on this, in my family. This is my household. So I guess if I were to say, like, my things, I guess, see, that's a curious thing, because, like, I would say, like, my Malazan book collection is like probably my favorite thing, but it doesn't even sit in a place where people can see it and go, wow, those books are damaged. I'm never letting you borrow a book. And I'm like, hey, there's a lot of pages. I hold that book for like a month. Like how many other books do you read for like a month straight? I mean, I'm reading Lord of the Rings still, and I'm not even past the first section of Fellowship. So yeah, maybe. I mean, my pop collection, and then like even breaking down like my books, my favorite book, my favorite pop. I mean, obviously my favorite pop is my BoJack pop, but that's just because BoJack is like probably my favorite character of all time. I mean, I would never be friends with BoJack. I would never be in Todd's shoes living with BoJack. Couldn't do it, don't want to do it, don't want to think about it. He is so toxic, but he is like my favorite character. His arcs and what he goes through and what he has to do and how he just keeps messing up. Oh my god, if you haven't seen BoJack, do yourself a favor, binge all of it. Feel sad, but hit me up, because that is my next podcast that I'm actually still working on. But that's later down the road. I'm still doing a lot of research, and it takes a lot of time. That's like a weekend project, but hey, when you gotta work, you gotta work. So, my relationship with things. Well, again, like I said, things are things I gotta have. I need them. I need them more than I want anything else. And then once I have the thing I need, it isn't a need, it's just a want. And I feel like sometimes that transition's very hard to understand for people. Just because you don't always get what you're finding out of the thing you wanted. You don't always get what you were looking for in a thing. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you get more than you're looking for in a thing. Sometimes, especially if the thing is a gift. If someone goes, hey, I thought of this thing for you. I know you're not a thing person, but here's the thing. And you're like, I wonder what the thing could be. And then it's a thing that you didn't even know existed, but it's so handy. Like there was, oh my god. Like, I guess I didn't really put two and two together that I have all these guitars that just kind of sat around the house, and they had guitar hooks, and Annette got me guitar hooks for Christmas in my stocking. And I was like, whoa, this is a thing I didn't know I needed, but then now my guitars live on my wall, and I'm like, I can't actually go back to just having my guitars scattered among the house. Like, they have a place they live now. And it's a small thing, but it's a thing nonetheless, and it's a thing that I appreciate. Whereas, what are some things that I don't appreciate anymore? My Xbox, maybe? My parents got me my Xbox One for Christmas in like 2013 or 2014, something like that. And I remember going out the next day and just buying all the games. I think I bought like 3 or 4 games at Best Buy all on Boxing Day. And I played it was like Far Cry 4 and NHL and I think whatever the newest Call of Duty was at the time. I got the Xbox membership. Like, I just was like, heck yeah, let's do her. And then I did her, and now my Xbox just sits in my room there. It just lives there. I never turn it on, never really use it for anything. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, what is the point in having this console? But then I know that I still am just kind of like in this rental from Bert. Like, I have his PlayStation that lives in the main room, and he's like, yeah, just keep it indefinitely, and then when you get your PlayStation 5, which, Bert, I know you're listening to this, I have no idea when that's gonna be, just being honest with you. I know you're listening to this at the gym, so I hope it's loud enough you can hear me. My throat is like getting all phlegmy this morning. I don't know why. But to start closing down the conversation, I mean, things are a lot, and I think there's a difference between things and necessities, and having a relationship with those necessities and finding how you sort between necessities and wants is very difficult. Very, very difficult, especially when we live in such a bombardment of advertisement. But yeah, I mean, I think what I learned kind of today about myself is that it's not always as black and white as just like there are people who like things and people who want things, and both. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And I think that nuance is really where you find a lot of the strength in what character you are. But for Thursday, April 7th, I'm ending today's episode. I'm Chad Jones. This is Journeys, and I will talk to you on another time.